I've saved my progress as the goldband.ai found inside the O9 pen tool folder. In this exercise, we're going to add a couple of additional paths inside of this tongue. One of the paths will make the gums and the back of the tongue red, and then we'll add a black path in order to imply a little bit of shading. Now, I'm just sitting here working away, so I still have the draw inside mode selected, and the tongue is isolated, so if I were to begin drawing a new path, it would appear inside the tongue. But let's say you click off of things somehow or other, and you leave the draw inside mode. You switch back to draw normal. You don't know what you've done, but somehow you're no longer drawing inside the tongue. How do you get back into it? Well, if you grab the black arrow tool and you click on the tongue outline, like so, to make it active, notice you no longer have the option of turning on the draw inside mode. That is no longer available to you. And that's because you've selected the entire tongue group, not just the tongue path. So a couple of different ways to select the tongue path. One is to find it here inside the layers panel. So go ahead and twirl open that tongue group like so, and then meatball the path that's called tongue. And then your draw inside mode will once again be available to you. The other thing you can do, I'll click off of it, is to grab your white arrow tool and then click anywhere on that tongue outline. And by the way, if I alt-click or option-click, I'll select the entire tongue, and we can see all of those control handles all over the place because we're seeing a control handle for each and every selected anchor point. I'll shift-click on any one of these anchor points to turn it off, and then I'll go up to the handles option here inside the control panel, and I'll switch back to hide handles for multiple selected anchor points because it gets to be a little too much sometimes. Anyway, now I've got the option of switching back to the draw inside mode, and I will avail myself of said option like so. And then I'm going to grab my pen tool, and I'm just going to click around this time. I don't need to draw a bunch of fancy control handles because I'm just creating a rough shape to color the interior of the tongue. So I'll click here and maybe here and here. So I'm clicking around the gums, as you can see, and not doing that careful a job of it. I just want to make sure I've covered all of my bases there. That's weird. I've now colored the tongue blue all over again. You may be seeing a different color like yellow or something along those lines. I want to make it red. So I'll go ahead and click on red right there in order to fill that shape with red. And that's looking pretty good, except it clips that ring right in half there. So notice the new path here inside the layers panel. I'll go ahead and double click on it, and I'll just call it redness and click OK. I don't need a stroke assigned to this path at all, incidentally. So I'm going to switch emphasis to the stroke down here at the bottom of the toolbox, since in rather atypical form I can actually get to the bottom of my toolbox, and I'll go ahead and switch to none, like so. All right, but what do I do about the fact that the redness appears in front of the ring? Well, let's go ahead and move it down by dragging it below the ring here inside the layers panel. Now, you don't want to move it too far down. If you drag like so, you'll move it outside of the group, and then you've got a real problem. Then it's no longer filling the tongue the way we want it to. So you'd grab redness and move it back into the group like so. And that didn't quite work. Let's see what happens if I drop it on the tongue group. That moves it to the top. Not exactly what I want either. So I'll move it to the bottom of the stack, and there it resides. So now I've filled in the tongue just perfectly, the gum and the tongue. However, I'm not very happy. Notice this red tongue going into the red gums below. We don't have a lot of definition inside of this tongue shape, so I'm still working inside the draw inside mode. I'm going to go ahead and grab my pen tool, and I'm going to draw a new path along the bottom of the tongue. But you know, the more I think about it, the more I think I've already done this. If I press Control-Y or Command-Y on the Mac in order to switch to the outline view, I can see that I have a couple of segments describing the bottom of the tongue, and I'm going to be essentially tracing along those segments with the pen tool. Why should I repeat that work when I've already done it in the past? Is there a way in Illustrator to grab just a few segments that you've drawn before and replicate them and repurpose them inside of an illustration? The answer is yes, and I'll show you how that works in the next exercise.